Okay, so we are 3B. We are an Italian naturtech company. We started working on biodiversity in 2017. We actually started with honeybees, actually by developing an IoT sensor that was useful for beekeepers in order to understand the health status of honeybees. And from there, then we developed a lot of sensors that now are actually useful to monitor biodiversity, and also an IE model that it's integrated in our platform that gives a lot of information about the biodiversity status in an area. But that's why we are called 3B, because we started from bees. Like for us, bees always have been a bioindicator, but just to make this call a bit useful also for us, now I think we have some issue with the name, because we do biodiversity, but a lot of people think we are mostly bees. So just some food for thoughts, and also a question for you, so you can maybe answer at the end of the call. How would you rebrand, if you would do so or not? We are quite known now in Italy, so it's kind of hard to rebrand, but maybe something we can do. Anyway, something else about us: we are 60, mainly based in Italy. We have a team of 10 people working on the R&D team. We have, as I said, two type of, we mix two type of technologies. So there is the model, through that we are monitoring 1,000 sites. This means like 1 million hectares, and we have spread all over the world like 7,000 IoT devices, among Spectrum, HiveTech, the one for bird life, we in Pollix, the one for quality air, and so on. Another interesting thing about us, I think, is that we got a grant from the EU to develop biodiversity credit in the continent, and we should start, actually selling biodiversity credit by 2026. Okay, so about our approach, this is our approach basically. So it's similar to carbon. So we calculate the impact of the company, or the entire company, or the specific site they are actually monitoring, and then we help them to avoid when it's avoidable, reduce when it's reducible, restore and rehabilitate. Then if there is something they can't do, we can, let's say, compensate. The only thing about biodiversity, we should compensate, locally. And finally, the final goal could be to become net positive. So this is the approach. So basically, let's say the company can do. There are two ways they can start. They can have a general approach. So they give us all their assets, and they ask us to understand their impact and dependencies on biodiversity. And in that case, what we do is we interpret and prioritize all the assets. So at the end, we're going to have, the asset that they should start putting under the focus. Then with them, we set, the targets, and then, we implement all the actions in order to reach the goals. But everything starts from the prioritization. So having all the assets and understanding, okay, which are the ones that we should put more into focus at the moment. Usually is the asset that they put into focus are the ones that are more near protected areas. and they have a very low MSA, so it means species abundance. But this depends, because sometimes companies are also asked to put a focus on hydrogeological risk. So this also can be included in the metrics. Then, of course, there is also another approach, which is the more specific approach about a specific area. And in that case, we make the assessment. This is actually, it's also what we do when we have a general approach. So for each site, we conduct this assessment. To get the assessment, we need like the KML files. So we know where the assets are, and thanks to this, basically we can get all of these metrics, KPIs. So for example, we get the mean species abundance, as I said, the pollinator abundance, we get all the endangered species in the area, the protected areas that are around the sites, and also get a matrix, a double matrix, so dependencies and impact. Of course, the more data we get from the clients, the more specific are the KPIs that comes up from the analysis. But I think what is really interesting, and what usually clients really like, is that they could get something like an initial idea of their impact and dependencies on biodiversity, just having, the raw materials they're using, the original country, and the business model. So having those, three very general information, we can get something. And then, of course, the more data we have, like GPS coordinator, the hectares of the area, the percentage of natural area, and so on, the more precise the platform becomes, actually. Okay. I think it's your time.
Yeah.
Look at
it. So, what are the way that we are collecting all the data? So we do it by remote sensing. So as Virginia told us before, we use several databases, and which gave us the possibility to calculate MSA, PPA, which is the pollinator abundance, and other indexes, but also we use IoT sensors. So mostly they are three different technologies. First one, you can see it here in the image, is Spectrum, which is a bioacoustic sensor, and it listens to the sounds of pollinators, and it recognizes which kind of pollinators is flying by. So it recognizes the frequency, the hertz, and then you can understand which type of pollinators is flying nearby. And then we have another one, which is the PolyX, which is also in the picture. Virginia, if you can show it, it's there in the image. Yes, that is for wild bees, and it get us the data about PM10 and PM2.5, so the air quality of an area. And then we have, of course, another kind of technology, which is HiveTech, which is our first technology, as Virginia was saying before, which is basically installed in a beehive, and it gives us some data about the status of the bee inside the hive. So all these technologies combined give us the possibility to show these data into a platform. So you can go to the next slide. Thank you. So this is a platform that is developed like, I think, a year now, and it's continuously updated with a lot of new data and new kind of database, which we use to gather information. And it gives us the possibility to show the key performance indicators of an area. And we're doing it, of course, with companies, but also with municipalities, with parks, so with a lot of stakeholders. And the main thing, I think, it's really aesthetics. So you can see all the data combined and gathered into a one single website platform, of course, and you can, of course, share the data with the stakeholders. Another thing which is really interesting about this one is that it's super quick. So for it takes us like 15 days to collect the data from the database, of course, that we're using, and then the platform is all set up for the company or whatever. So it's really quick when we are not using sensors, of course. If we need to install sensor, then it takes us a lot of time, like 30 days. And you can go to the next slide, please, Virginia. So yeah, what the platform does is to arrive at a biodiversity assessment of the area. It gives us a lot of data. Of course, some was mentioned before. So for example, the mean species abundance and pollinators abundance, but also it gives us some data about the hydrological risk, the temperature in the area, the what else? So there are a lot of data. So the land cover, for example. So a lot of data from satellites, and also for useful for the company to analyze the metrics. So for example, if you can go to also to the next slides, we have the impact.
I just wanted to add something. So as I said before, like the portfolio approach. So when the company is asking us to have an idea of their general impact on biodiversity, this is the priority metrics I was talking about. So in that case, they put we put into axis the MSA and also the distance to protected areas. So this means that those let's say 3 sites up here are the one that the companies wanted to put focus on and start the project, maybe regenerating also.
Yeah. And yeah, sorry, the slide before, I forgot to mention that the platforms also give us the impacts, dependencies, and risks of a site, which is super important for companies to report about their metrics, their double materiality metrics. And it's also super quick to obtain, so it's very useful for a company as well. So you can go forward. Thank you. So this is what we were saying before about the spectrum, which is able to analyze and to hear, and then to recognize which pollinators are flying next to the sensors. Here we can see, for example, the timeline, and see, of course, in the spring seasons, of course, pollinators are flying more often near the sensor. And one specification that I wanted to make is that we are not able yet to recognize specifically the species of the pollinator, but it's kind of similar to the draw that you saw there. So it's a cluster, it's kind of a family of pollinators, but it's not just the perfect species. But it's also super useful to see which kind of pollinators are in that area. And yeah, of course, you can also see the history of precipitation and temperature as well. And yeah, so of course the platform is also compliant to the ESRS. So for example, it gives you the possibility to analyze the 4 ESRS, so standard E1, E2, 3, E4, specifically for climate change, pollution, and water and marine resource biodiversity, of course, which is our main pillar, and then the resource use and circular economy. So it gives you the possibility to analyze all the data compliant to the ESRS in this case.
Yeah, of course, for us, ESRS is very important since we're based in Europe, and a lot of companies are asking us these, and actually a lot of companies are making the transition from GRI to ESRS. Also the one that are not, also the ones to which is not mandatory yet to report about sustainability, but they're still doing the transition, so they don't they can advance the obligation, let's say. Yeah, to give you an idea of the case studies, let's say that we have three type of projects. So the projects that are related to the agriculture supply chain. So in this, we put, of course, the food, let's say supply chain, but not only food, also fashion supply chain, wellness and pharma. So all the companies that depend on the agriculture supply chain. Then here, these type of projects are the ones that are related to energy and infrastructure sector. So where all the sectors basically where you have huge assets that have quite an important impact on biodiversity fragmentation. And finally, here you can find all the projects related to production and logistics. So in this case, the sites, the assets are not huge, not like infrastructure, but still they depend on biodiversity because of raw materials, and they have an impact on biodiversity because of the pollution. So those are the three, let's say, main type of projects. We are actually giving you an idea for each type. So in the agricultural sector, the main impact they have on biodiversity are mainly monoculture, alien species, and the overexploitation of land. We are working a lot, especially in the food supply chain, especially because in Italy it's quite developed, but also pharma, for example. And we wanted to share this specific case studies. This is Findus. It's an Italian brand, but I think it's also operating in Spain because I saw it last week in Barcelona. And for them, we are actually monitoring the pea supply chain. They have the pea supply chain, especially in Italy, in three regions, Lazio, Puglia, and Abruzzo. And for them, we are monitoring 28 sites. Not all the sites we are monitoring belongs to them, but sometimes are the farms that they, are their, supply chain, basically. So for this project specifically, we are monitoring more than 1,000 hectares. And of course, they like to, also attach a communication campaign to this project. So they're doing a lot of speeches. They are actually also putting the label on their products. So this label here, they were quite interesting in the label at the end. Okay, the infrastructure sector, as I said before, the main problem with biodiversity is fragmentation, degradation, overexploitation of land. In this case, we're working a lot with the energy sector, but also the mobility infrastructure sector with a lot of highways. We're also monitoring highways in South America, and also airports. We are monitoring a lot of airports because all the assets, they are huge, and they fragment the ecosystem basically. We just wanted to share the Mundis case study. This is a very portfolio approach, so they're not actually they haven't put sensor in the monitoring project. They just, for them, what we are doing is monitoring all the assets they have all around the world. So 5 airports, 4,000 kilometers of highways between United States, Mexico, Puerto Rico, Brazil, Argentina, and Chile. And so in this case, it's really understanding which are the assets that have more problem, that have more impact on biodiversity. And also what they wanted to understand was the hydrogeological risk for all their assets. This is one of the assets. This is the airport of Rome, Roma Fiumicino. But yeah, they have this portfolio approach. And finally, as I said before, this is a quite huge. There are many type of companies in this one. So it's mainly production. So when we are monitoring the production site, in this case, the impact is fragmentation, but not that much because the assets are small. So when we monitor, actually the hectares, as you can see, are not that huge, even if we are monitoring a lot of sites, because in this case the impact is mainly, let's say, pollution and the use of raw materials. Yeah, we could talk about Bracco. This is a pharma company. We are monitoring for them their production sites. So as you can see, the hectares are really small, but they wanted to also look at the pollinators. So we installed Spectrum and other sensor there, and they actually wanted also to have an impact on the local community. So we are actually helping them to educate a school. So with a project we call School of Biodiversity. Yeah, and I think that's it. Yeah, what I wanted to tell you is this. So we are organizing a webinar on the 17th of December. Also, Gilad is gonna speak there about the taxonomy framework. So if you want to join, we are gonna talk about COP16. It's 1 hour webinar, of course, so you can. We're probably gonna also share it on Slack, so you can join from there. Those are our emails. So as I said before, my main question for you are the one about the rebranding, since we have some problems sometimes in presenting ourselves as 3B. This is a theme for us at the moment, one of the main topics we are discussing. So changing the name or rebranding, or for example, giving the platform its own name, maybe. The other thing is, I know there is a channel on Ocean Naturtech Solution, but if someone has this, specificity, maybe we can talk, have a chat, because we are really focused on land ecosystem, land biodiversity, and we would like to explore more marine biodiversity solution. So that's it. If you have question, we are here.